So this is our international panel. We have some die-hard, roll-up-your-sleeve activists here who are on the ground doing some amazing work. And I'm going to introduce them and then have them speak. Each of them will have 15 minutes, and then we'll have Q&A. We're running like 2 minutes over, so we'll see if we can wrap this up a little 2 minutes after. So I have here Jaya Bhumitra. Has 10 years of campaigns, public affairs, and public relations experience in both the private and nonprofit sectors. She's earned bachelor's degrees in international business and marketing from Georgetown University and a master's degree in psychology from Pepperdine University. Jaya currently serves as International Director of Corporate Outreach for Animal Equality, overseeing teams in Mexico, Brazil, Italy, Spain, India, Germany, and the UK and the US, working to effect policy changes that reduce the suffering of animals raised and killed for food. Previously, she served as Director of Corporate Outreach for Mercy for Animals and Campaigns Director for Compassion Over Killing. Jaya also serves on the board of Food Empowerment Project, a national nonprofit seeking to create a more just and sustainable world by recognizing the power of one's food choices. And she's on the advisory council of Encompass, an organization seeking to increase effectiveness in the animal protection movement by fostering greater racial diversity, equity, and inclusion while empowering advocates of color. I'm also going to introduce Emmanuel and Katia, and then I'll just have them take the floor. Emmanuel is the Mexico Outreach Coordinator at Vegan Outreach. Since January 15, Emmanuel embarked on Vegan Outreach's first full-time tour of Mexico. He traveled to 12 of Mexico's 31 states, as well as its federal district, as VO's first ever Mexico Outreach Coordinator. Emmanuel hails from Monterrey, Mexico, where he was born and raised. He graduated from the university, you'll have to say this because I don't know how to say it.
Universidad Autónoma del Noreste.
Yeah, with a degree in psychology. In addition to animal rights, Emmanuel is also an activist for environmental, feminist, and social justice causes. Katia Rodriguez is the Mexico Campaigns and Spanish Media Coordinator at Vegan Outreach. Katia helps run VO's Espanol pages and also leaflets. In fact, she holds the all-time record for the most booklets handed out in a single day at 6,496. These booklets have a lot of information, and they target mostly campuses, students who, students are always into new stuff, so it's really good. And her alma mater, you can...
Universidad Autónoma de Nuevo León.
Katia went vegetarian after seeing a video at a concert for a local animal shelter and eventually went vegan. She has volunteered and interned for many animal rights organizations. Katia feels a strong passion for speaking up for the animals used in labs and completed her biology degree without dissection and vivisection. That's really cool. She's now working to end those practices at the university. Welcome. So we're going to start with Jaya.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming. I'm very excited to be here with Emmanuel and Katia because our groups work a little bit together, but it's my first time meeting them as well. So as Liz said, my name is Jaya Bhumitra. I'm the International Director of Corporate Outreach at Animal Equality. Our mission is to work with society, governments, and companies to end cruelty to farmed animals. Closer? Yeah? How about that? Is that a little better? Okay. Over the last few years, there has been incredible momentum in the corporate outreach arena. So this momentum and the potential impact on millions of animals from sweeping institutional change is what prompted Animal Equality to decide to develop a department focused on corporate outreach last November, which I launched. Every day, our 10-person international corporate outreach team works with companies to persuade them to develop meaningful animal welfare policies. We do this through negotiation, pressure campaigns, or both. In the next 15 minutes, I'm going to describe to you the 4 greatest challenges I've encountered while engaging in this corporate outreach, as well as our 4 greatest successes. The first challenge, logistics. Animal equality operates in 8 countries, though we have prioritized 5 of those countries for our corporate outreach initiatives. These countries are Spain, Italy, India, Mexico, and Brazil. The other countries where we operate are the UK, Germany, and the US, where we have our Los Angeles headquarters. In the 5 priority countries, we engage companies to ban cages which cruelly confine hens who are used in the egg industry. These tiny wire cages cause extreme suffering to the birds, giving them no semblance of a natural life. However, working across 4 time zones can pose many challenges. Some of these are a direct reversal from Pacific Standard Time, which is my time zone, and that can be logistically challenging and exhausting. That means very early mornings, late night meetings with your colleagues, or working around the clock to attend to any number of time-sensitive tasks that come with dynamic corporate campaigns. I also travel internationally to meet with my teams approximately 2 weeks of every month, which is very exciting, but also requires quite a lot of stamina. Language barriers are also tricky. When we first started the department, 2 members of my team spoke exclusively Spanish. And while Spanish was my favorite subject in school, it's been 20 years since I've practiced, and I have to say I'm a little rusty. So I downloaded an app to my phone, and I started learning vocabulary while they started learning English, and we tried to meet in the middle. Generally speaking, my team of English, Spanish, Italian, and Portuguese speakers has been able to communicate fairly smoothly. However, you always think you understand each other until you don't. Then you suddenly realize that there was a miscommunication and something got lost in translation. So what we've done is we've tried to put things in writing, especially key decisions, that has helped us to determine if we are on the same page or not. People usually find that language comprehension is easier in reading and writing, which we've done it this way, and it's worked very effectively for us. Second challenge, legalities. Corporate campaigning is very risky and very high stakes. When we're taking on the biggest companies in the world who have a lot to lose from the information we share with consumers about the company's associations with animal cruelty, we need to ensure our legal safety and prevent our organization from getting sued from any number of issues. Defamation, harassment, trademark violations, and other legalities are all different things that could be thrown at us. Every country has different laws, which is why we have both a local and an international lawyer review everything from the imagery, slogans, and hashtags that we use on our posters to the disclaimers that we use on our investigative and campaign videos. We vet every major campaign action for risks to the organization, the employees, as well as the volunteers. Then we do whatever is necessary to mitigate those risks. Third challenge, cultural sensitivity. One of the most important reasons for hiring local staff in each of the countries in which we operate, rather than running campaigns from a centralized location such as the United States, is that the locals know the local customs. They know whether they should wear suits or t-shirts at a protest. They know whether to give the person they are greeting 2 kisses on the cheek or a handshake. They know how certain colloquial phrases might play with consumers. They know what the media wants to cover. They know how their own country works. While I have an academic degree in international business and have lived, traveled, and worked internationally in both the private and nonprofit sectors, I try very hard to be careful about presuming what another country's customs and culture entails. I provide an expertise in my content area, which is corporate outreach, while deferring to the local executive directors and my local country teams to provide me with their country knowledge. Together, we're able to develop robust and impactful campaigns that are both culturally sensitive and effective. The fourth challenge, colonialism. Dictionary definitions describe colonialism as the concept of one nation exerting its power or customs over another with the intent to influence it politically or economically. While many colonizing nations invaded other nations under the guise of modernizing them through the creation of government, the necessity of religion, or the development of infrastructure, the real reason for the infiltration was to capitalize on the colonized nation's human and natural resources. Historically, Western countries such as England, France, Germany, Spain, Italy, Portugal, and Belgium have colonized countries throughout the Asian, African, North American, and South American continents. The colonized countries were ravaged. People were enslaved, cultural traditions and artifacts destroyed, and natural resources were exploited. In most cases, the colonizers eventually moved out to pursue other ventures, or they potentially were pushed out by revolutionary forces. But the havoc the colonizers caused left a lasting impression that rightfully has left local communities very wary of foreign intervention. Of course, our goal as animal advocates extending our reach abroad is not to dominate. Rather, it's to prevent the domination of animals who are themselves subjugated. But it's important for us to be mindful of the country context in which we enter when we choose to work in markets that are not our own. This is particularly true for animal equality, as we were founded 11 years ago in Spain, a colonizing country, and we currently have our headquarters in the United States, another country with a complicated history of imposing its views in other domains. We all want to see an end to animal suffering. However, to achieve the most for animals, our campaigns must not be crusades. There's a solution, which brings me to our first success, coalition building. While much of our work involves influencing the public's opinion on animals or encouraging the adoption of corporate policies that improve the conditions of animals, we must work with local allies who have experience in the region, as well as a unique ability to assess the locals' ability to make change, as well as their interest in making said change. Cultural heritage, access to plant-based foods, cost of living, political strife, stability of currency, employment rates, legislation, and the intricate relationships between other social justice movements and our own all play a part in determining how successful our efforts will be on a local level. We need to have a macro view of the complexities of a country while attempting to work within it. We also need to be careful about dominating other countries through our activism, as I mentioned on the previous slide. That's why I love the alliance building model. Initiated by the Humane League, Open Wing Alliance brings more than 40 member organizations together to create a unified front in our campaign to ban cages. We share campaign strategies, tactics, resources, and support, all toward our shared objective. Here you can see the worldwide membership, which includes organizations from North and South America, Africa, Asia, and Europe. Here's a great visual representation of our reach. Next success, volunteer engagement. Since our outreach to companies began in January and our first campaigns launched in March, we have mobilized nearly 30,000 volunteers specifically to work on corporate outreach initiatives. This is through our programs called the Animal Defender Program, which we have in Spain, Italy, and India, as well as our Animal Protector Program, which is running in Mexico and Brazil. We chose the name Defender in some countries because that's what resonated culturally, and Protector in other countries where that terminology was more appropriate. What's significant about this is that it's not just 30,000 people who have subscribed to a newsletter. These 30,000 people have opted in to receive 2 to 3 emails a week. Each of these emails contains specific instructions on campaign activities that they can take. The level of engagement in our campaigns is incredible and has allowed us to bring full force against the companies we wish to persuade. This video highlights the diversity of our animal protectors in Mexico.
Yo soy protectora de animales.
Protectora de animales.
Porque tienen derecho a no ser ni maltratados ni explotados.
No merecen ser maltratados.
Necesitan de nuestra voz para ser escuchados.
Que no es justo que nos beneficiemos con el sufrimiento de otros.
Yo quiero ser su voz.
Somos los responsables de su vulnerable condición.
Me preocupan las madres de la industria diaria que no verán a sus hijos crecer.
Que para mí no son algo, son alguien.
Porque juntos podemos conseguir un mundo más justo.
Basta de tanto daño y maltrato.
No me gusta cuando un humano hace sufrir a un animal.
Los animales no merecen ser maltratados.
No podemos ser indiferentes
porque podemos cohabitar en armonía.
No puedo ser indiferente al sufrimiento de los animales.
Ellos merecen respeto.
Necesitan de nosotros para que su voz sea escuchada.
No merecen sufrir por causa nuestra.
So for those who don't speak Spanish, many of them are saying, I am an animal protector, I'm proud to be an animal protector, animals need help, and this is why I do it. Next success, creative campaigning. Knowledge sharing across 5 countries has given us the ability to generate new and creative campaign ideas. The following photos represent some of my favorite and inspiring campaign actions. In addition to protesting consistently in front of Eurospin stores, we held a protest at the last stop of Giro d'Italia, an internationally known bike race sponsored by Eurospin, the Italian retailer. We conducted 2 Facebook Lives of our protests, one in front of the official Eurospin booth as well as one at the race finish line, drawing the attention of thousands in the crowd as well as Eurospin's leadership. We also juxtaposed our banner above the Eurospin banner with the backdrop of the Duomo, one of the most famous tourist sites in Milan. Simultaneously, we held a tweet storm with the hashtag Eurospin Crudele. These actions resulted in numerous articles, including 2 in Milano Today, notable because it's a publication in which Eurospin is itself an investor. In case our Eurospin campaign felt a little bit too far away from corporate headquarters, we took a mobile billboard to drive right around their building. That same van circled the headquarters 8 hours a day for an entire week, only breaking to drive through parking lots of nearby Eurospin retail stores where consumers could get a better view. We developed a companion animal photo campaign to support our campaign against Grupo Pão de Açúcar, the largest national retailer in Brazil. This campaign went viral. Hundreds of our volunteers contributed photos of their companion animals, calling on them to help their feathered friends. Photos included dogs, chickens, exotic birds, and of course, cats. Investigation is arguably the most powerful campaign tool. This is a clip of our investigation of an egg farm in Brazil, the first investigation done into any egg farm in the country. In Spain, our campaign against retail giant El Corte Inglés has resulted in millions of media impressions. Several outlets covered our projection of our footage from a Spanish caged hen farm directly onto one of El Corte Inglés's buildings. This is one of their most highly trafficked buildings and caused quite a stir. In addition, this occasion marked the very first time this action was done in Spain, as well as the first time it was utilized for this generation of corporate campaigns. Our uniquely branded Week Against also intensified our activities for 7 days. We created a Facebook event page highlighting the events for the week, including leafletting, call-ins, letter writing, signature gathering on our petition, and more. This is in front of El Corte Inglés's headquarters. Similar to the mobile billboard, here's a video of billboard. This is actually showing moving footage where we took this in front of El Corte Inglés headquarters as well. To escalate our campaigns against Soriana, the largest national retailer in Mexico, we placed a giant billboard above the main highway that the executives take to drive into work in Monterrey. Notice our slight alteration of the logo. We adjusted it so that there's dripping blood added from the heart to emphasize the cruelty of cages. Soriana has been especially stubborn, so we decided to do more than expose the plight of hens in pictures and videos. Instead, we brought the dead, discarded hens themselves to a protest we held in a historic plaza in Guadalajara, Mexico. More than 50 volunteers somberly held these sad hens in their hands, paying tribute to their lost lives. The poignant photos reminded viewers who we are fighting for. Empowerment is the last one. Earlier, I mentioned that it's necessary and important to hire local staff members with local knowledge and networks to lead their work in their own countries. Even more necessary and important is that these hires are not figureheads. They should be empowered and provided with autonomy to make decisions most appropriate for their cultural situation. This decentralized approach does require more coordination, but the effort is worth it to make sure the strategy, tactics, and messaging we employ is both respectful and resonates locally. I provide my team resources such as the budget for their wages and campaign activities, templates that can be adapted per country, strategic counsel, general guidance, and encouragement. Then I get out of the way and let them do what they know how to do best. Together, we have coordinated more than 400 hours of protests and many more hours of volunteer time on other actions, earning 85 media impressions and 90 million media impressions from those 85 stories. We've won more than 30 policies, sparing more than 15 million hens every year from suffering in tiny, filthy wire cages. Cage-free does not mean cruelty-free, and we profess that the best way to help hens is to simply stop eating eggs. However, this is progress. In addition to the direct effect that we've had on animals, I'm even more proud of empowering a new generation of animal advocates, particularly young women. All of these people have the potential to be great leaders in their country, and I'm glad to be a part of that. These are the challenges and successes I wanted to share with you today, and I look forward to answering any questions at the end of the panel. Thank you.
During our time working as full-time activists, we visited 19 out of the 32 Mexican states, and we've reached more than 500,000 people in college campuses, high schools, festivals, and other venues. Through our social media, we reach millions every month. And with our online resources, we are able to help people in 120 cities in 19 countries. And the response so far has been very, very good. At least in Mexico, we feel that Mexicans are very open, and one of the reasons is that we care about animals. Mexicans care about animals. And as Chema Hernandez Gil mentioned last conference, or in the conference last year, the traditional Mexican food is mostly plant-based. Before colonization, natives used to eat mostly corn, beans, zucchini, chili peppers. Those were the main ingredients in our food, and they are still there, and we enjoy them a lot, so it's not a hard thing for us to start changing our diets.
These are some of the pictures of activities we've done. And here are the types of activism that you can see in Mexico, not only leafleting. We have corporate outreach. We have a picture of something that Humanely has done against some supermarket like Soriana. We have legislation work that is made mainly by Animal Equality, by MFA, Humanely. We have undercover investigations. We have pay-per-views and the virtual reality. But not only these are the type of activisms that you can see in Mexico, there are other types that might not be focused only in veganism, but also against the fur industry, rescuing horses that are pulling carriages, that they collect trash. We also have protests against bullfighting and the typical rescue of dogs and cats.
What we have seen so far in the animal rights and vegan movement in Mexico, we have seen different issues. Those are one of the ones that we have noticed. We have seen fragmentation and disarticulation, meaning that groups have a hard time working together. It's very common, and we know this doesn't happen only in Mexico, but we notice that there. We also see lack of economic resources for local groups. And again, we know this is not exclusive of Mexico, but we perceive that is even a little bit more difficult, which may make their activism even harder. And through the promotion of a vegan diet or a plant-based diet, we notice that fat shaming and white supremacy has been used. Thanks to a recent diversity training we had, I acknowledge that I'm more privileged than what I used to think. Because in Mexico, my skin is not as the average Mexican. It's lighter. So having this situation gives you the opportunity to more resources and different treatment. So what we have seen as a movement is that sometimes in our printed materials and electronic media, we notice that you see people with lighter skin. Because sometimes it is associated with higher economic status and the beauty standards. So the idea behind this is that people will be compelled, or they will be
more attracted.
Yeah, attracted to the idea of changing their diets in order to be more like the people they're seeing in the media. So we think those are one of the main issues that we have noticed. There's good news as well.
The progress in the animal rights movement and vegan movement in Mexico. This is a major thing that happened a few years ago against circuses. After campaigning and a lot of effort from the community and other organizations, that is a major highlight in activism in Mexico, because now circuses with what they're considered wild animals are banned. So we rarely see circuses, and most of them now have humans. We also have the media covering more topics related to farmed animals or animals raised for food, not only dogs, cats, so it's pretty cool. We also have more celebrities working in our country, supporting campaigns from organizations that are working in Mexico, and we have more international organizations hiring people in our country working full-time. Also, in the food section, it has been really, really amazing because out of all the products you see there, only 2 are not made in Mexico. The rest of them are, most of them are made in Monterrey, where we're from. But you can see we now have vegan cheese that is super affordable. We have mayo, we have meats, we have nacho cheese. We have a lot of variety now. And the good news is also that vegan products that have been around the market that are Mexican, that were not that established back then, are now really well established. So people, even non-vegans, consume it. And it's really, really amazing. And we see something that might be surprising, but the consumption of plant-based milks is growing. I want to give an example of what happened like 2 weeks ago. My mom decided to have a reunion with her friends at a Starbucks, so I was there with her, but I was working. And I was there for like 2 hours because they talk a lot. And I was listening to what people were ordering. And in those 2 hours, I never heard someone ordering something with regular milk. Everything was plant-based, mostly almond. But that's really, really good. Now we want to give you a more perspective of how we see the movement in the US and in Mexico. People in Mexico are more curious about the message. That's what we think. And this might be because the movement is becoming more mainstream recently in Mexico than in the US, that has received more press coverage than in Mexico. It's easier in the US to get people to volunteer. We think this happens because of our economic situation. People in Mexico tend to work more hours, and their schedules are very tight, and they don't have a lot of chance to change them. So they need to work more, and it's hard. Getting donation in Mexico is harder, super hard. And not because people don't have the money, but more because we have a very bad corruption culture, so people don't trust institutions. Doing investigations could be easier than in the US. If we see a transportation truck full of pigs, we can go there and take pictures. And if they see us, they might not tell us to stop. Why? Because they don't see us as a threat yet. But the downside is that in Mexico, when activists affect a business that is owned by a very influential person, activists get disappeared. There are more products available in the US than in Mexico, and for us it's something that is not super affordable, because products that come from Canada and the US that are sold in Mexico, of course, are more expensive.
And finally, what we think is needed to change or to go further are the following. We need more people working in and for the movement, as Jaya and Katia mentioned. Fortunately, we have more, but there's still a lot of things that need to be done, work that need to be done, and we definitely need more people in order to do that. We think it's very important to understand that there's more than one way to do activism, and again, this could apply to different countries, but we have to understand that there's more than one path to get to the same point. And what we mean about this is that we should stop criticizing other groups and focus more in our activism and how we can improve, how we can do it better, and be more open to work together, to stop focusing on the differences and be willing to work together, because we can do more when we are doing things together. And of course, for that to happen, we have to let the egos aside. We need to see more positive activism. People in Mexico sometimes have a hard time trying to understand that slow progress is better than no progress. We think we need to celebrate big and small victories, people changing gradually. Organization, as Jaya put it very well, must trust their international employees. In our case, no one knows better Mexico than Mexicans, so we should have autonomy and take part in the decision making in order to adapt to our context. And we feel very fortunate to work with Vegan Outreach because that is the case. And the first time we started working full-time there, doing outreach, doing leafletting in colleges, it is true that it was my supervisor initiative, but the way we do it is totally different to the way our coworkers do it here in the US. We have done leafletting in the US, and it's a different story. So we have adapted it to our reality, and the rest of the programs that are currently active in Mexico are either Katia's or my initiative. We requested them because we thought they would work, and they're working very well. So we hope that a lot of more groups that are working there are adapting this. We know Animal Equality is doing it, so thank you so much for that. And on this last point, we should be more critical of our campaigns and tactics, meaning that be critical to know how to be more effective, but also to know how we are affecting different groups. And I would like to show you this picture. Have you seen this picture? It's very, very popular. But we came up with an idea that is the following. If we can compel people to go vegan without oppressing others, why wouldn't we? Oftentimes, campaigns are done without regarding cultural differences. And we need to have that in mind. And in order to do that, Katia and I have been doing work with our volunteer base in Monterrey. We do training sessions where we discuss how to be better activists, more effective, and more effective organization. But at the same time, and most important, we discuss issues that might not be related directly to veganism or animal rights, such as feminism and social justice. Because the idea is to have more effective activists, but also to have better citizens that are caring for different causes. And before I forget, we invite experts to talk to the group in the training sessions. Linda Alvarez, which is one of the co-organizers, has talked to the group, and she talked about immigrant issues, workers' rights, and we also have local activists doing work for LGBTQ plus community, because we think it's very important to include that in our activism. And going back to the last one, awareness of interconnectivity. We think this is crucial because in Mexico, sometimes people have a hard time understanding that what happens in a place, what happens in the other side of the border affects what is going on here and in the other way around. And a clear example is foreign policies. Foreign policies of a country affect the economy of their surrounding countries or the countries that are related to that country, and that affects the economy of those countries. And the economy of those countries are related to the life quality of the citizens living there. And that is very, very important to promote a plant-based diet or a vegan lifestyle. If we want to achieve a vegan world, we need to take care about that. Because it's as simple as if you see someone in the street, living in the streets, and you tell them, hey, you know what? Non-human animals are individuals. They have inherent values. Their lives have inherent value, so we should have them in our moral consideration and treat them in consequence. So we shouldn't eat them. You should go vegan. The people or the person living in the street, they might not know when it's going to be the next time they will be having a meal. So it's very unlikely that they're going to say, oh, you know what, that's true. Next time someone offers me a slice of pepperoni pizza, I'm going to tell them, you know what, that hurts animals, I'm not going to take it. So it's as easy as that. If we have better life condition, people not worrying about getting killed, getting robbed, getting sexually assaulted, they're going to be more open to the message. So people doing work for social justice are helping us to achieve a vegan world. And it's as easy as that. There's no animal liberation without human liberation.
Thank you. Before going into the conclusion, I would like to highlight something that some of you might like a lot, that we forgot to mention, that most of the workers or people working for animal rights groups in Mexico are females, and that's pretty cool too. So the first condition for changing reality is to understand it. And we would like to share like a small conclusion. When we are doing international work, we can make a generalization, not even inside the same country. Just the same way someone from Louisiana is different to someone from New York or LA. Someone from North Mexico is different from the south or the center of the country. We have to know the historical, cultural, and economical backgrounds of the areas we're working in. The more you know someone or the context in which they live, the better you will be at making a difference. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, Emmanuel and Katia. Jaya, so we'll have you all over at the, sitting over there.
So my question is, I go to Baja a lot and work with some kids at an orphanage. And so one time, one of our vegan friends came along and decided to prepare a vegan meal for them. After that, the orphanage came back to us and said, like, can you not do that again? Because there's some kids that don't want, that won't take the food that we give them anymore because they want it, or they say they want to be vegan. Sometimes it's just them being bratty. But so in that regard, like, how would you approach that?
Okay, I think we need to take a look at what they cooked and see if that is something they are already eating. Because if they are used to eating rice and beans and tortillas, and you take them like hummus, it's gonna be hard for them to appreciate that. So take a look at what they are already eating and try to make a vegan version of it. I think will be a good approach.
Quick question. Jaya, can you briefly, if you haven't already, explain what iAnimal is?
Oh, yeah, sure. So iAnimal is an initiative of animal equality that takes viewers inside an immersive experience. It uses virtual reality technology. Animal Equality was actually the group that pioneered the use of virtual reality technology for the animal protection movement. So we're very proud of it, and we have a series that we do. So each video is several minutes long. We have one for chickens. We have one for dairy cows. We have one for pigs. They are incredibly, incredibly powerful because it's different than two-dimensional footage that you're watching what happens to animals in farms and on slaughterhouses, but having this immersive experience brings you inside the farms and slaughterhouses with the animals. It's just so much more visceral. The other thing that's really exciting and unique about the iAnimal program, which we do, we have tours that we take all across different colleges. We show it at technology fairs, at festivals, at major events. The other thing that's really exciting is there's a program called Pay-Per-View that had been in play. It's still being used by many, many organizations. It's still an awesome program. But basically, you pay people $1 to watch 4 minutes of factory farm footage. And usually at the end, they're so moved, they will donate the $1 back. But what happens with the iAnimal program and virtual reality is you don't need the $1. People are lining up to try the experience just because the technology is so novel and so interesting. So thanks for asking, Liz.
Thank you, Jaya, Katia, and Emmanuel. Let's give them a round of applause.